Hey there, John. Thanks for attaching the parts so we can see kind of what you got going on. So I thought I'd show you a couple different ways. They mentioned the multi-body solid. So what I'll do here is kind of show you a couple of different things. First off, we'll just create a new part and start a new sketch. We'll just make this one 4 by 6 feet. So big old thing here. And just constrain it from the center to the point here. So you'll see you have a fully constrained sketch. Finish. So we'll extrude that out 4 inches, let's say. So now we have our part here. Now, what we can do is we can create another sketch wherever you want. So let's say right here, project our geometry, and then draw another piece out here. So let's call that one 8 by 20. So a couple little legs here. Now we can do our equal sign. These two would be equal and equal. So that way there's a relationship between those two. Finish our sketch. Now we can extrude and go to the back end. Now, right here it's join, and right here is new solid. So if we do new solid, you'll notice that there's a line right there. If we actually change that to a join, then there's no new solid. So our solid bodies is 1. If we undo that, now we have 2. So the multi-body solid is basically making 2 different solids in the same part. So if we turn on the visibility or share the sketch, we can extrude and do the distance 2 again to the back. Do new part. Okay. So now we have 3 parts that are, well, 3 solids. So if we wanted to make those into one part, or their own parts, go to Make Components. It'll ask us to save. So then it pops up this little dialog, and it'll ask you for the selection. You can do it from the window. I always think it's easier to do it over here from the body list. So if you select 1, 2, and 3, it'll bring them into here. You click Next. It'll tell you what your assembly is going to be named. And it'll tell you these are the components. You hit OK. Now it's going to make you a new assembly, and that assembly is then those parts, but they are individual parts. So the solids are now individual parts. So they're all grounded. There's no constraints set up. They're all relation to the actual part itself. So if we actually turned off the grounded, this will move around, but you can select grounded root component, and it'll just throw it back into the middle. So that's the nice thing about doing the multi-body solids, is that you can then just ground all the parts at their roots, and it'll stick. So that way if you come back into here, go into part 1, change that to 8, then everything else updates. You go into your part here, this little thing will light up, local update, refresh, parts update. So that's one way to do it. I'd say that's the easiest way as far as doing a multi-body solid. Another way, close these out, would be to create a new part as an assembly. So here we have our part in the assembly, our assembly file. Create new, and it'll ask you where to choose it. Say OK. You can click anywhere, and then here's your sketch. So we can then build our part. I'm just going to make this real easy and simple. To here, make this at 20, and this at 3. So same way, basically extrude this out, but if we want to, return. So now we're in the assembly level with our single part. If we want to create a new part, we can click Create. Then it'll ask you to name it again. Now you can select the face that you want the representation to. So if we select the top, now we're drawing on this top. So start a sketch, and choose that plane. Now notice how it turned the adaptivity on. It's basically saying I'm referencing another part. You can project the geometry of the top, finish your sketch. Let's see, just kidding. Let's draw a couple of things. Do that as 3, and do another one here, and do it to that. So fully constrained, extrude this one at 8. Now, if we return, now we have 2 parts. What if we want a third part? Well, we can create another part. Okay, here, start sketch on there. Draw these. That's not going to work. So, the reason that we're doing that like so, then we can go back into here, turn this. So now you have your adaptive parts. So that means that here's your original part that's just grounded at the root. Then you have these other parts that are adaptive to it. So if we actually change this part into here to 6, you'll see that it updates. And let's make that big. So these haven't updated yet. If we come back to the main level, they'll update accordingly. So there's different ways to do it. Then when you open up this part, you'll see that now it has a reference to this other part. So you could break the link if you wanted to. You could then, turn off the adaptivity on all these parts, and it breaks all the references so that when you come to here, now you have your sketch, but it's not actually linked to the other part. So there's some drawbacks to doing that, because then if we come back into here, we refresh the part, make it less adaptive. So this one, if we change to 8, this one doesn't follow and that one does. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the adaptivity is, because this one is now